This is Ryan Elliott for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted to have Ade Oladipo back on the channel. Ade, I was going to introduce you as broadcaster extraordinaire. You're everywhere, you're doing well, you're going out to America soon. What do I call you now?
Just Ade Oladipo. Honestly, just Ade Oladipo. But I appreciate the words, man. Yeah, you know what? It's a busy time, but it's good to be busy, right? It's good with DAZN, with TalkSport, my own YouTube channel. Make sure you check it out. So yeah, it's just a good time. It's a good time.
Let's start with why we're here. Conor Benn back in action against Chris Van Heerden. Very respectful, but the usual intense pre-fight Conor Benn up there. In terms of Chris Van Heerden now, you've been around him this week, you've spoken to him. Do you get the sense that the ambition's still there?
Ambition's there, confidence is there as well, but I mean, it's all good having those things. The fact is he's fighting a young, hungry Conor Benn. It's going to be difficult. He's been inactive, and that's putting it kind. He really hasn't done anything for the last couple of years. He had that fight with Jaron Ennis that ended in a couple of rounds because of a cut. Before that, it was in an 8-rounder. So look, I'm just happy that he's got the opportunity. I know of him because I lived in South Africa for a few years, and there's still a lot of hope that he can do something. Even if he doesn't win, just perform so he still gets in there with big names. He could become, like, honestly, a gatekeeper at 147 for the young, hungry guys coming up. I know that's not the position he wants, but that's almost the position he finds himself in.
I was going to say, it says a lot about Conor Benn's rise. A lot of people have been critical of this matchup and expect this to end inside the first 6 rounds. But just a word on Conor. You've known Conor for quite some time. We've all followed his rise. What have you made of him? And is it fair to say one of the most improved fighters in world boxing?
Yeah, 100%. I think we saw it probably against the Algieri. I don't think we saw it against Granados, which went the full distance. And it was difficult to read into the Vargas performance because he just caught Vargas with something and that was it. I thought the Algieri performance defensively looks really good. And look, I think people need to understand, Conor Benn hasn't had this extensive amateur career. I think he had like 15 amateur fights or something along those lines. So he's learning on the job. But I think he's in a really good camp. And I think we're seeing a better Conor. I think people, look, I'm a boxing fan. I understand why people want to see him in with the big names. But the matchmakers, I think, know what they're doing. I think this will be the last one before he takes that next step. I asked Eddie about that and I said, look, Eddie, what next for Conor? And he read off Mikey Garcia, Danny Garcia, Adrian Broner, maybe even Kell Brooks. So that's the next one. You just got to be busy with him, but also careful. I think Van Heerden's good. He's a southpaw, he's experienced, he will learn from it. And then it's a case of go next. But I guess it shows how people think about him as fans, that they are upset with this matchup because they now, I think, realise that we do have something special here. But sometimes you've got to nurture those type of fighters. I mean, you look at someone like a Josh Kelly, who has more natural talent than Conor Benn. But in terms of where they both are in their careers now, you'd say Conor's ahead because they risked Josh with Avanesian and it didn't work out and he's having to rebuild. So you've got to be careful. But Conor should get the job done and then it should be a big name in the summer.
It's interesting. I want to go back to what you said there about how it's going to be difficult to match him beyond this because I suppose when they do eventually open the door at world level, he can't really come back, can he?
You can't, and it's sharks. It's shark-infested waters. You look at guys that are probably number 10 in the rankings, your Cavialaskas, your Avanesians. I mean, those are frightening opponents. I mean, Terence Crawford fought Cavialaskas recently. Do you know what I mean? So that's the level up. So I think they've got to be smart. You can get veterans like Mikey Garcia, which are still risky fights. Broner, risky fight. Brook, risky fight. But you need to do that now because they'll know. They'll look at the people tuning in, the bums on seats, and it's simple to tell what people are excited about. And maybe they might not get what they want tomorrow, so they have to make sure the next fight's a big one. It has to be a big one.
So we're on Chris Billam-Smith and Tommy McCarthy. First fight, brilliant fight. Chris has kind of said this week, maybe expects a bit more of a technical fight. How do you think it'll differ now that they've had a proper look at each other?
Strange matchup. Honestly, a strange matchup. If you're Tommy McCarthy, you're happy, right? I mean, because you lost the first fight and you want a chance to get in your European title back. If you're Chris Billam-Smith and this is put on your table, you're thinking, I've already beat him. I've had that fight against Brejon. I don't want another tough physical fight. So hopefully it's not a tough fight for Chris Billam-Smith because, again, the Tommy McCarthy one was, the Brejon one was. You go back a few years to Riakporhe. He needs to start learning how to win easy. And that's a skill in itself, but he needs to make it not as tough as it is right now. It's going to be a tough fight again. I think McCarthy's maybe got less pressure on him now after losing that fight. I think there's more pressure on Billam-Smith to win this one than go to the world level. Maybe even a Riakporhe rematch, maybe. But should be a good one. Looking forward to it. But I think I edge to Chris Billam-Smith to get the job done a bit easier this time.
Someone on this bill that I wanted to ask you about that's maybe gone a bit under the radar more than he should have is Jordan Thompson. We've had a very exciting domestic cruiserweight scene for a while, and he's never really been mentioned, but he's got a bit of momentum now. He's with Matchroom, dangerous fighter as well. How excited should we be about him?
Yeah, I mean, look, you can't not be excited. He looks the part as well, doesn't he? I was looking at him in the scales, and he's massive. I mean, you always tell he's massive because Eddie's, 6'5", and he's as big as Eddie, or if not a bit bigger. So he's probably a heavyweight masquerading as a cruiserweight. His legs are big as well. I mean, look, he was inactive. That's why we didn't see him. He's now been active for the last 6 or 7 months. He can punch. He's getting a bit of a following. When he came out, the crowd sort of jumped and screamed as well. So a few ladies here, no doubt, like him as well. Look, he's a good fighter. They're going to have to match him a bit tougher. If he gets past this one, he'll be looking at maybe the loser of Billam-Smith-McCarthy, potentially. I don't know if they want to go next to him because of his punch power, but those are the type of step-ups. And I think it's good for Eddie because there was a time maybe a year ago you're thinking, okay, there's AJ, there's Dillian-Whyte, where are the other stars? And now we have Conor Benn, we've got Jordan Thompson coming through. So he's the next one I think they're going to build. He's 12-0. They're going to want him to get busy, maybe 3 or 4 fights this year. And we'll see what he does. But yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do.
Last subject before I let you go, Ade. Big fight next weekend, Tyson Fury and Dillian-Whyte at Wembley Stadium. In your opinion, what's Dillian's best chance of winning this fight?
Just got to rough him up. You've almost just got to put it on him. I guess the only problem now was that Tyson Fury likes that style of fighting as well. Tyson Fury done that kind of same style, didn't he, against Deontay Wilder? But look, Dillian-Whyte's been locked up. He's been away training like a madman. I know people that have been over there and they say he looks in fantastic shape, a lot physically bigger. Because Tyson Fury does like to bully you. Look, Tyson Fury is bigger than any other heavyweight, so he can bully you. But I think Dillian-Whyte's put a bit more size to try and bully back, if you like. He's got an opportunity here. I mean, you look at Tyson Fury's fights against Deontay Wilder. Yes, he's, for me, won all 3 of them, but he got hit a lot. He got hit with what we're being told is the hardest heavyweight punch of all time. He went down, so you never know when the wear and tear can creep up on you. Dillian-Whyte's not had the same kind of damage. I know the Derek Chisora fight was tough and the Povetkin fight, but he's had a while out now, and I feel like maybe him not having that Otto Volin fight could make him go back to Portugal, work on what he needs to work on, and look, it's going to be ridiculous. It's honestly 94,000. Dillian-Whyte says he will turn up for the press conference. That's going to be crazy. Honestly, that's going to be crazy. Dean White, Shane Fury, John Fury. You can sell pay-per-view tickets for that one. I feel like I'm selling like Eddie Hearn now, but you can honestly do. But look, I can't wait for it. It's an incredible fight, and I wouldn't. You always have to go towards Fury. He's the best heavyweight out there by a distance for me. But, I've backed against Fury when he was the underdog. Now he's fighting someone that is the underdog, and you just never know. Dillian-Whyte is game as they come, and that counter left hook that he's got could put anyone to sleep, but you edge towards Fury, you really do.
Last one, Tyson Fury's kind of hinted that this would be his last fight. We have heard him say things like this before. With a potential undisputed fight on the table if he wins, do you believe him?
No. If Tyson Fury told me it was raining outside, I'd open my curtains up just to double check because I don't believe anything he says. But there's too much money on the table. Not just that, but look, if we're talking about, a lot of people talk about Tyson Fury and legacy. That's what we're getting to now. Once you have these big fights and they're undisputed or unifications, if he really wants to cement his legacy, where in 15 years we're talking about him like we do Larry Holmes and I dare say Muhammad Ali, there's more stuff on the table you need to do. And that more stuff is AJ, that is Usyk, that potentially could be a Hrgovic. There's so much Joe Joyce. So I think there's too much money on the table, too many big fights. What is he, 32? He's in good shape now. He stays in good shape. When I spoke to him a few weeks ago for Talk Sport, he looked fantastic. His jawline was chiseled. He ain't retiring anytime soon. I think he's going to get to Wembley, realise that there are 94,000 people there, mainly for him, and think, I want a bit more of this. I want a bit more stadium fights. This is a guy that's done arenas. Now he's in a position where he does stadiums. You don't run away from stadium fights when it's Usyk and AJ on the table. You simply don't.
Ade, it's been great to have you back on the channel. We'll catch you very soon.